God over all things every day. How do you make a first impression a lasting impression? They smoke that much, but yet they still live longer than we do. Good morning. Feels great to be sitting back in the studio recording. It's been a long time. Took like a month off, and I've just been busy, guys. I apologize. I've been doing a lot of traveling, a lot of business things, a lot of networking. Um, all wonderful, wonderful, wonderful things, though. Living my best life, I'll tell you that. Living my best life every day. But yeah, I wanted to stop in and at least kick this thing back off. Before I get started, yeah, look at this. Yeah, look at that shirt. It's snazzy, right? So this is actually the Muhammad Ali version. So I know you probably can't see it from there, but this honeycomb. We still got the goat right here. I want to give a shout out to Goated. Here we got Goated here, and Goated here as well. So Goated. Goated is actually one of our big sponsors for one of my clients, John Cantrell, who is the number 9 heavyweight in the United States, number 1 ranked through the American Boxing Organization, the ABO. He's fighting for an IBF title in December, as well as the ABO title in December for the North American Continental Belt. So GOATed stands for God over all things every day. That's what GOATed stands for, okay? Goated has a lot of wonderful, wonderful connections, network. Their apparel, I mean, try to show it to you guys. I don't know if you can see it, but even like they're like little goats. I don't know if you can see it, but they're goats. Like just the finest details on all their stuff is just absolutely perfect. High quality. Like I love the polos. I love the way they fit. It's high quality material. The t-shirts are the same way. You don't buy them and they shrink half a size. You know what I mean? Like it's not that. And not to mention Kevin and Kyle Van Duzer. Shout out to you guys. That's the owners of Goated and fantastic salt of the earth people. I mean, fantastic. Really quick though, so anybody that purchases anything from Goated, they get one of these booklets. Okay, it's called Goated Mentality. All right, so they've paired up with Dan Marino, Jerry Rice, Tom Brady. They did a Muhammad Ali drop. So they do a lot with a lot of Gary Brecka's another one. They're close with Gary Brecka. Anyways, I digress. So one of the things I'm going to read is, so in this book they kind of line out what is goated mentality. What does it look like? I'm just going to read a quick segment. I'll put it on the screen for you guys as well. So the goated mentality starts and ends with choices. My dad, who was a very, very well-known pastor and still is, my dad has talked to hundreds of thousands of leaders and athletes of all ages, and he frequently asks them in his message, how many choices does it take to ruin your life? The group almost verbally would answer, one, every single time. At the same time, choosing to make the right choices can make your life the best it has ever been. Just a quick little segment. Now it lines you out, guys. It's got day 1 through, I think it was lining out 4 days. First 4 days, I do believe. 5 days? 7. First week. Yeah, lines you out for the first week. Okay. So awesome company, awesome group of people. Big shout out to you guys. I really do appreciate everything you've done for John and myself. But above all, I appreciate the message. I appreciate who you guys are, what you stand for, what you stand on, and super excited just to keep growing this relationship and seeing where it leads us. So thank you guys, Kevin and Kyle. All right, get me a little drink here. So I've been gone for a little while now. And I was trying to figure out, where do I start? Been gone for a while, kind of took a hiatus. Where do you come back and start at? I'm actually going to start somewhere recent. So one of my more recent connections is a gentleman named by the name of Alex, and we were having a really good conversation the other night at Tito's, Tito Ortiz's place, and we were hanging out with Tito and whatever. Anyway, so I was talking to him, And he said something, and man, it's so true. And I wanted to elaborate on it a little bit. So he said, you hear this all the time. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, let me take it a step further. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. That makes sense? So, give you an example. You know, I could go meet President Trump and take a picture with him and say, hey, I know President Trump. But then, you ask President Trump, do you know Steve? He's like, I don't know who you're talking about, right? He doesn't know me. I don't even know him. I just took a picture with him. So it's not about who you meet. It's can you leave an impression? Do they remember who you are? And in part of networking and building relationships, things like that, that's a huge, huge piece. How do you make a first impression a lasting impression? Right? And I spent a lot of years of my life thinking, oh, I just need to impress them, or I need to do something crazy that they're going to remember. No. I was wrong. What you need to do is you need to grow up. You need to be mature. You need to be grounded. You need to stand for something. And when you meet somebody and you're genuine and you're authentic, they'll remember that. Because there's so many people that are just tryhards. They try so hard. They want to impress. They want to make this up. They want to make that up. I'm going to tell you guys something. As you climb the ladder of society, the higher you climb, the more exposed you're going to become. If you're living a life on lies or you're trying to impress somebody, it's going to come out. They're going to catch on. I promise you. It's a matter you have a ticking time bomb on your hands. So, when you meet somebody for the first time, being genuine and authentic is my best advice I can give you. Don't be starstruck. Don't. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're standing in front of me. Well, none of that, right? It's being mature, chest out, confident. How you doing? My name is Steve. Right? It's simple. But it's mightily important. Some of you guys have been following along. Yeah, life has taken off. It's not some coincidence it took off. Right? You follow the kingdom, the rest takes care of itself. That's literally all I've done. I take care of my body, I take care of my mind, and I take care of my spirit every single day. The rest falls where it may. I guess that rhymes. Anyway, I'm not trying to rhyme in here, but anyway, but it's true. It's very, very true. I focus on three things every day: mind, body, and spirit. And I will never stop talking about it. It completely changed my life, and it continues to change my life. And so those are the three things that I changed. And in doing so, my life changed. The confidence that I have, the anxiety that I no longer have, the relationships, the networking, all of these things, my circle of friends, yeah, they all changed. Don't get me wrong, it changed. My circle of friends looks completely different now than it ever has. Don't get me wrong. But when I look back on the circle of friends that I'd had in the past, it's like, yeah, it wasn't the healthiest people to be around. When I look back, I'm not saying they're bad people. I don't wish ill will, but at the same time, we weren't doing what I'm doing now. We didn't have that relationship where we were pushing each other and holding each other accountable and those types of things. I'm telling you guys, anytime I cuss in a video, I get a phone call. I get a couple phone calls like, "Hey man, whoa, why are we doing that?" Right? Like I have people around me, and I try really hard. Because it means something to me. I have a lot of respect for these people, and so I will absolutely better myself. It's part of leveling up. You can't just be who you always are. Say, well, accept me as I am, or turn around and go the other way. Well, a lot of people are gonna be turning around and going the other way. I took a journey halfway across the United States. I drove from Florida all the way to Topeka, Kansas. And it was tough. It was tough. The driving's easy. It is a long trip. I'm not gonna lie, it is a long trip. I'm not gonna long. It's 25 hours, I think, when you stop with food and gas and stuff. It's like 25 hours. So anyway, the hardest part though, guys, is I grew up in a very small town, very very small town, dot on the map, blink you'll miss it type place, right? And I remember growing up, and industries were thriving, the community was thriving, and you felt good, you felt proud. And now you drive, and I didn't drive through my small. I didn't drive through it. I went a different direction. But my point is, when you drive across the United States, it is so hard, guys. These small towns are just decimated. They're just decimated. There's no money, no jobs. The jobs that are there pay like $14 an hour, $16 an hour, like not enough to live on. You know, um, buildings are falling down, houses are falling down. It's like, oh gosh, guys, it's not their fault. I get it. I had to move from my small town, right? I understand. There's just nothing there. Like at the end of the day, there's nothing there. And so it's like, it's just sad. It breaks my heart. I always tell my wife, if I ever make it, we're gonna get back, and we gotta make this world a better place. It's it was just hard. It broke my heart, to be honest with you. It broke my heart. And my heart goes out for those people. Then, I made a couple videos or a video or something on Snap, and it's like, that's why guys, we've got to be accountable. You cannot rely on the government. I understand we fall in hard times. I'm not criticizing you for using it. That's why it's there. It's there in case you need it. It's a tough, tough world to live in. It is. And that's why we have those programs in place. But what I'm saying is, you should never just be okay with, okay, well, I have this now, so we're good. You should get it, like, okay, well, I have this, but I need to be getting off of this. What am I doing now to get off of this? Like, you need to be having a game plan. I get off, now I get asked all the time, how did you move? Why did you move? How would you make something like that even possible? And I'm going to tell you, it took some sacrifice. We went without some things that we normally would have. We had to try to get out of all of our debt, and we made the mistake that a lot of people made, and in our 20s, just we were trying to make it, and the biggest thing you want to do in your 20s, you want to buy a house. You want to have a home, and everywhere we went, it was like, oh, you got to put 20% down. It's like, oh man, I guess I'm never gonna own a house. And then we found out, oh, you first time home buyers and get this and this. And so anyways, we ended up figuring it out. So in our like mid to late 20s, we bought our first house. We probably had no business buying our first house, but you know that seemed like the American thing to do, is buy a house with a piece of land that's yours, and that's just the way it is. And you do things like that, and then you spend all this money, in the house, and then you turn around and you're 30 and you have $150,000 worth of debt if you add it all up. It's like, holy cow, I'm in a hole. And we had to try to get out of that hole. That was step one. Um, I didn't follow Dave Ramsey to a T. I think Dave Ramsey has good concepts, um, but there are some things I don't agree with him at all on. But we did use a little bit of Dave Ramsey, but honestly, we just used discipline. More than anything, we used discipline. And we knew what our plan was, we knew what our goal was, and we put a strategic plan in place. And we just followed it. It sucked. I'm not gonna lie to you, it sucked. But we just followed it. It's like, hey, this is what we want to do. This is what we said we need to do to get there, and so let's just do it. It'll pay off eventually, and we'll be happy, and we'll ride off into the sunset. And so that's honestly, guys, that's the secret sauce I can tell you, is just you got to be disciplined. Now, that's why I tell you, mind, body, and spirit. Had we not been working on that prior to putting this plan in place, it never would have worked. It never would have worked. And in fact, I would honestly sit here and tell you it would have failed before it even started. It took developing that muscle of discipline. And I often also speak, and I think I've mentioned this in a video before, but you know, we were, I use the word misguided, but take that lightly, by our own parents. And the fact that, they would say, "Yeah, I'm disciplining my kid," as they're just beating you or grounding you or putting you in timeout. No, it's not disciplining your kid. That's not. That is, your kid has consequences for their actions, right? You're punishing your kids. You know, I discipline my son by making him wake up at the same early time every day and get his schoolwork done and get his chores knocked out. That's me disciplining my kid. That is developing discipline for my son. Okay. Now, if he gets off the beaten path, he gets punished. There's consequences for his actions. Okay. The military says, they discipline guys through boot camp because they're developing discipline. The beat downs, the running, all the PT and stuff. That's called discipline because they're developing discipline in doing so. You're not developing discipline when you beat your kid. You're teaching them right and wrong. Okay, there's a massive difference there. And I think my generation has a massive gap when it comes to discipline because they don't have the right definition of discipline. They think it has like two different meanings. Well, no, it has one meaning, and it's important you have it. It's important you develop it. It's important you work on it. Okay, and that's why, guys, you see these military guys, especially these special ops guys, but military in general. These guys can fall flat on their faces when they come out. And the next thing you know, you turn around 5-10 years later, and they're millionaires. They got this business and that business. They're an advisor over here. It's because they always have the discipline. They may not be practicing a discipline, but it's always right there. It's within reach. They can just grab and put that right back in their pocket. When you have that muscle of discipline, it'll carry you for the rest of your life. I promise you. You just have to develop it. It's not easy, but why would you want to live an easy life? Brings me to my last point, easy. Americans always want to take the path of least resistance. So I will tell you, traveling abroad, especially, I went to Europe. I went to 3 different countries in Europe. And I talked to a lot of people. And I asked them all the same question. And I got the same answer from I didn't get a single different answer. Like, this is literally the answer that I got. I said, "Hey, when somebody says American, what do you think of?" This is what I was told: fat, lazy, arrogant, and entitled. Now, not everybody said all 4 of those things, but everybody said at least one of those 4 things. Every single person. Everyone. I didn't tally it up. I wish I would have. It gave me more credibility, but I would probably say that's probably between 25 to 35 people I asked through 3 different countries, and that's what I got. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if I really disagree. I came back to the United States, and when you go over there, everybody walks. That's the other thing. Everybody's walking over there. It's not because they can't afford a car. It's because it's easier because of how things are set up, right? It's like if you live in New York City, you're going to walk a lot. But I would never live in New York City. I'll get to that in a later video. That place is gross. Anyway, so they walk a lot. So that's their exercise, right? They walk all the time. Plus, when you go over there, you don't see a lot of like fit people. Like, you don't see like just built, strong, fit people, right? It's not there. But you don't see a lot of obese people. You don't even see really a lot of chubby people because they walk, they move every day. As soon as we got back to the United States, it was like, oh, and I don't make fun of anybody. Everybody has their own story. But here's what I'll tell you. I have never in my life seen somebody go to the gym, put the work in, and not get results. I've never seen it. Never. I have seen people that go to the gym to make it look like they go to the gym and then not eat well when they leave the gym, and then they don't have any results. But they go to the gym and they take a lot of pictures at the gym to let you guys know that they go to the gym. But yet you see them, it's like, yeah, you look the same. Like, there is no progress here. I see a lot of that. And, it's sad that we live in a time, we live in a place where we are fat, lazy, arrogant, and entitled. And then I drive halfway across the United States, and I'm like, yeah, we have nothing to be entitled about. there are a lot of places in America that were way dirtier and dingier than any place I saw overseas. And so, you know, we could go pros and cons. And I'm happy to be an American. I'm not saying I want to move to Europe, but what I am saying is this place could be a way, way, way better place if we just pulled our head out of our you know what. That's what I'm telling you. And we are extremely lazy as a society, very, very lazy, and we are very entitled as a society. We expect things, we expect them now. When you go out to eat over there, it's a 2 to 2.5 hour adventure. That's just what it is. And if you try to get the check early, it's considered rude. It's very rude. It's their culture. So when you go to dinner, you're going to be there for at least 2 hours. I'm telling you that it's going to be 2 hours. That's just what they do. It's not. They're not being slow, but I mean they are obviously. If it takes 2 hours, but they're in their mind. You talk, you socialize. Okay, there's bread to start with, and then you get your starter, and then you get your main course, and then you get your dessert, your treat, and so it's just it's a culture thing for them. And here we want it now. Where is this? Where's the manager? Blah, blah, we're all over it. And my point is, there's just no reason to be that way. There's no reason to treat another American that way. There's no reason to just walk around with all this animosity and disrespect just to go splurge it out. If that's how you want to treat people. Stay home. Get over yourself. You're not that important. Nobody cares, right? I enjoyed my time. Um, I am very happy I live in the United States. However, I really, really enjoyed my time. I did. Beautiful place, beautiful people. Um, I and even when we got to New York City, I talk about New York City. I met some incredible people in New York City. I did. Um, there's just no way in Hades I'm moving to that place. There is no way for multiple reasons. And I was actually shocked with how nice the people in New York City is. Because you hear it and you see it, they're all yelling, and it's just kind of like it's the way they live, right? It's fast paced, get out of my way, blah blah. Even on their sidewalks, they have like a fast lane, and then have a place where you can step off. But there's like markers, and it says do not stop, step off, or what I can't remember exactly what it says, but yeah, like they don't mess around in New York City, like they. But then I started talking to some of the locals there, and I actually met some really, really nice people in New York City. Surprising. I was very surprised. I expected to kind of get snapped at, yelled at, oh, come on, yeah, whatever, get out of here. I didn't even run into it. But I'm gonna make a whole video on New York City because there's a lot that goes into that. Went and talked to some people, had some pointed conversations with some people, so it deserves its own video. But my point is, guys, it's just going overseas and being an American was almost embarrassing. When they find out where you're from, they're like, oh, our dollar's worth a lot less, which sucked. But our dollar's worth a lot less, so we're considered poor. When you go over there, it's weird. You go to Mexico, you're a dollar sign. You go over there, you're considered poor. So it's a different. The other thing that shocked me was, so in Europe, Italy specifically, they smoke at a rate that's about 3 times the rate of Americans. So an example is 1 in 10 Americans smoke, 3 out of 10 Italians smoke. I don't know. I'm not saying that that's the math, but I'm just giving you an example of what I'm trying to say. So they smoke that much, but yet they still live longer than we do. Their average lifespan is like 4 or 5 years longer than the American average lifespan. But yet they're smoking cigarettes at 3 times the rate that we do here. That's asinine. If that doesn't make you say, what? I will say it till I'm blue. Our healthcare system is flawed. It is a scam. It is not to make sure you're better, it's to make sure they make money. That is the way our healthcare system, and I'm not saying every doctor and nurse is on, I'm just saying the system as a whole is designed for money, not to help people stay healthy. They don't want to keep you healthy. If you're healthy, they don't make money. Okay, we've turned medicine into a business instead of a practice, and it breaks my heart because I see it all the time. I see our medical system just failing and failing people, failing Americans, And I went and had some conversations when I was over there. It's one of my big things I really wanted to talk to people about once I got over there. And yeah, it was pretty much everything I thought it was going to be. There was no surprises there. I'm just so surprised that we just let it slide here. Like we don't, people just aren't, you know, you guys want to protest something, go protest that. Go protest something that actually needs protested against. We have our pharmaceutical industry is just asinine. You go ask somebody in Europe how much an inhaler costs, and they're bamboozled. It costs money to breathe. So that doesn't make any sense to them. Why would it cost money for somebody to take a breath of air? If they need something to breathe air, why would you charge somebody for that? They were, and here we just charge hundreds of dollars for those things. Like it's nothing. So you can breathe. It's just, yeah. Anyway, I digress on that. But, anyways, I had a wonderful trip. I really, really did. It feels good to get back in the seat and talk to you guys. I have a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. I've been crazy busy, as most of you guys know. I'm a boxing agent, and I'm a boxing agent to Mr. John Cantrell, and so he keeps my life pretty busy. He's doing big things. He's doing God's work over there, and it was awesome and tremendous to have his whole team. He's in the middle of fight camp. He's got a biggest fight of his career is coming up on December 13th. So he's got 2 weeks and 5 days, I do believe. And so he's to bring his whole camp in the middle of fight camp. And we made it work, guys. We got a gym. They went and trained. They trained in the street. Went on the runs. We got to go meet Goated. Shout out to Goated, Kevin and Kyle again for having us in house and taking us to the headquarters and touring us around and doing the podcast as well. Shout out to Pat Gira and team there and Pat Dearborn. They're at a 239 Live also for inviting John on and had him as a guest on their show as well. Appreciate all that. And Alex, appreciate you as well for all the kindness and the invite to church and just your friendship that we just hit it off. You ever meet somebody and then like right after you meet them, like, oh yeah, they're my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. That was Alex. That was Alex with me. It was actually Alex with the whole team. He was shocked. He's like, man, not that I'm a hard guy to get along with, but I met your whole group and I liked everybody. He's like, usually there's one or two. He's like, no, I like everybody in this group. So shout out to Alex, and we had just a great time. I'm thankful to God for even allowing these opportunities to even happen, and for taking care of us and taking care of our families and getting everybody from point A to point B safely. And so it's been a fun time. It really has. A lot's been going on, and so I'm gonna get back in the seat more often on a more regular schedule, and I think I've been talking about that for a while and just haven't done it, but I'm finally at a point to where I'm going to be able to do it. I will tell you, in 2 weeks, I have to go to Topeka for John's fight. John fights December 13th on a Saturday, but I have to be there most of the week to kind of help get things buttoned up and lined out. I do still plan on trying to record while I am there, though, so I'm not planning on really taking it off. I'll just find a couple hours to shoot something, edit it, and get it posted for you guys. So I'm not going to do every day. I think I'm going to do Mondays and Thursdays for podcasting. I will create content every day, videos, whatever. But podcasting, I'm going to do Mondays and Thursdays. All right. So I will see you guys this Thursday. So take care of yourself. Be disciplined. And God bless. If you get a chance, go check out some Goated. Thank you guys.